12:03, and it's November 12th, 2024. We do have a quorum. Let's do a quick roll call, and then we will open the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Woody?
Woody Chidick, present.
Lee? Lee?
Lee Darth present.
Okay. Michael Dickey is not present this evening. Charlie? Are you muted, Charlie?
There you go.
Now am I free?
Yep.
You're good.
Again, I'm here.
Dave McMorris present. Matt Watkins.
Matt Watkins present.
Okay. The first item of business is the continued hearing on 82 Border Street. Before we start that, I have a note or a question from one of the people in the audience, Mr. Collins, asking how he can ask questions. What we're going to do, and the way we usually do these, is the people presenting the application will bring us up to date on any new material that they have. The board members will ask any questions that they may have. We then generally open it up to other interested parties, of which Mr. Collins is one. He already has his hand up, which is anybody else out there who wants to ask a question. There's an option on your screen to raise your hand. If you do that, Julia will promote you to a panelist, and you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. But that will be after the board goes through any questions that they may have. So we have, for the applicant, who's speaking first?
Good evening. William Eads from DTM Law, here on behalf of, in lieu of Adam Brodsky, who sends his regrets he couldn't attend tonight. Here on behalf of Co-Lobster LLC, the applicant, joined tonight by Eamon O'Mara, the project manager, Carolyn Reese from Merrill Engineering, Susan Hoadley and Corina Martinez from the architects. And I believe that's all I have today. All I have here today, I think. Yeah. Just in summary, since the last hearing, we submitted additional information at the request of the board. That included the updated construction methodology and site protection diagram, second response to peer review comments, and my understanding is the peer review is now completed. Updated plans, a signage package or signage scope package as requested, and details regarding the modification to the piers for the main inn and Eastwick Inn buildings. It's a long list. Updated building calculations and elevations. And one thing we did want to note on that is that after consultation with the building commissioner, he has requested that the main inn, Eastwick Inn, and associated decks be elevated an additional foot to comply with the upcoming 10th edition building code, which will become effective, as you know, January 2025. While the buildings have not changed, this has obviously changed the facade and building volume calculations, which Susan and Karina are happy to speak to if the board would like. Additional notes since your last hearing is that the planning board has closed their public hearing and will condition the project at their next meeting. And the Concom has also closed their public hearing and issued an order of conditions. Now, we understand, I believe a draft decision has been circulated. And I believe Attorney Brodsky has provided comment on that. We are available to answer any additional questions, but that's basically where we are right now.
All right. I have a question. When you're talking about raising the decks and things an additional foot to comply with the upcoming elevations, everything was going up 3 feet. Does that mean that everything is now going up 4 feet?
I'll have Susan and Karina confirm. I believe I thought it was 2, then 3, but yes. Susan, Karina can't hear you.
Susan or Karina, do you want
Can you
to
hear me now?
speak a little louder? Your volume's very low.
Can you hear me now?
It's better.
Yes.
Oh, great. Our original submission had the proposed buildings raised at elevation 12. And then to meet to the current or the upcoming 10th edition building code, we raised an additional 2 feet for a total of 4 feet.
Okay, so that will change all of the building height calculations and
Yes,
change more of the non-conforming area as well.
correct. And
And is that all
resubmitted.
reflected in the plan, the revised plan that you submitted?
Yes.
Woody, you're the designee on this particular one. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I can start. I mean, but just to clarify that, so if you raised it 4 and in response to John Hallen's suggestion, it's now raised 5 feet? Is that
Approximately 4.
okay? 4 would satisfy John Hallen and your concerns about what's coming up in January, right?
Correct.
Okay, because in this case, less is more. That's fine. I've got maybe 5 and actually a 6th issue coming up, but the first one is lot coverage. I thought the board had asked at our October hearing for detail in terms of impermeable structures that would be on the site, a number of them, from everything from ramps to flagpoles and signs and things. I didn't see that in my packet. Was that not submitted, or am I overlooking something?
Hi, may I address that? Caroline Reese from Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. That was addressed in a table in our second response letter to the peer reviewers. That is in the last section. We addressed planning board comments, zoning, and there's a zoning table in there with the detailed breakdown, and that's in the letter dated October 30th.
Oh, do we have, Julia, the October 30th letter in our packet?
Put it in the decision.
The-
You should have it if it was, yes, you do. And it's also on the website, the second response to peer review comments, October 30th.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I don't want to bog this down, but I'm looking for the.
Julie, while he's looking, can you also promote Nino De Nuno?
Yes.
Participating in this hearing as well.
Okay, so if I could see that table of the detail, that would be useful. I must have overlooked it or
Yeah.
missed it.
There's a detailed table in that letter at towards the end. We do peer review, planning board and zoning board comments. And then it's summarized in the draft decision. The numbers came from that table, but the detailed breakdown was in the October 30th letter.
Okay, I can't put my hands on it. I don't have it. Or I'm sure I have it, but I don't see it. At any rate, we can take a look at that in a second and call it up. I'm curious, what is the denominator, if you will, the lot size that you're using to calculate lot coverage?
The 18,742 is the total lot.
18,742, where does that appear anywhere?
Well, that's to mean high water, actually. And this,
I see,
I'm sorry,
I
that's
see 15,943 square feet to mean high water on a Merrill site plan dated
oh,
October.
I'm sorry. Yes, 15,943. So the 18,472 includes some
It's gonna
water.
include the deck in the building that's over mean high.
Yes, yeah, including deck and building that extends over mean high water. Thank you.
Yeah, but our bylaws doesn't provide for that. The bylaw says the calculation of minimum lot area may not include any portion of the lot below mean high water. And whether your deck is over that or not, is not part of the lot calculation, as I see it.
Those are just impervious surfaces.
But yeah, we're breaking down impervious surfaces. The coverage calculation went from about, what is it, 11,000? Let me pull up the numbers, to about 13,000. I'm sorry, I'm probably mixing apples.
Well,
with
I don't
oranges.
see where that is. If you could refer me to a sheet or
Zoning coverage?
a memo.
Sure,
I don't see it.
okay. Let me.
I
let-
think you start with the 15, whatever it is, 15,943. And then that's the denominator, and the numerator is all the impervious structures.
Number, I think.
I had,
There is a zoning table on one of the site plans that we used. I'm sorry.
why don't you give me the name of the site plan and the date?
Sure, the site plan, it's the site plan sheet, and it's revision 6 dated 10/29/24,
What's the sheet number?
and the sheet number is, I think it's 40.
Yeah, okay,
We use the 13.
Julia, I don't see that.
Upper left.
What
corner.
I had
Upper
in my
left
packet was
corner.
October 8th, 2024. Nothing more recent.
It's back. We've had, 2 revisions since.
Okay, well, it wasn't in our packet. I haven't seen it.
Just,
I
Woody,
think we'll
it's,
have to, we can set that aside, but I don't think we can decide on that issue tonight then. We haven't had a chance to review it.
It's been on the plan since day one, so it should be in the package
Yeah,
that you're looking
zoning
at.
table?
Why don't you show me another plan then? Give me another citation.
It's
Do
in
you
the,
want me to share the screen and bring it up?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure.
I'll
If I
see
may?
it.
there was a package on November 4th, a letter dated November 4th to the
Yeah.
board. And in that, there was a package of a number of documents. The fourth one was a site plan, which also has a number of sheets. And this C 4.0 is in that package. Over to the right, it shows it was originally, I think, August 6th, and then it shows the different revisions. This one is revision 6 dated 10/29.
Yeah, okay. I was looking down at the lower right-hand corner. But be that as it may, I don't see where the use of 15 of the above mean high water lot area doesn't appear in in the table in that one, on that sheet, nor do I think the applicant has the applicant responded to our request for the detail in terms of what makes up lot coverage. All I have is a number, or a percentage actually. Doesn't even say what the denominator is, let alone what all the various.
can't figure it out from that because you're saying it's reducing 3,000 square feet
The lot coverage.
for lot coverage because we're reducing the impervious coverage on the site. And it's going from 13,130 square feet down to 10,009.
Right, and we had asked for a table, a detail in terms of how you arrived at the 10,990, if you will. Just a number isn't enough for us to.
Right, but this isn't exactly it, this table,
Yeah.
because you've included impervious in it, so you'd have to pull out
Those numbers, which are
which
there.
are the total lot coverage.
Yeah, and they've revised. There is a detailed table that has impervious and lot coverage in that response letter.
Why don't you call that up? I haven't seen that.
It's not gonna.
I don't want to bog this down, but I mean, I don't think we have enough to, I haven't seen enough to be able to.
Is this the correct letter? Okay,
What's the date on this letter?
then October 29th, 30th, sorry, 30th. Here it is.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's not. It's the previous one, the October 9th letter. I didn't staple 'em. I can pull out, I'm sorry, it must be the October 9th. I don't have them stapled. I misspoke, the October 9th letter.
I don't have the cover letter.
Yeah, it's in there. Let's see. I can try to pull if you can.
Well, in the interest of time, we can move on, but if the full board has not seen the detail, we can certainly, deal with that between now and our next hearing, but,
Just, I have a question. Has there been any revised site plan beyond revision 6?
No,
Okay, because revision 6 does not seem to reflect the change in the height either. It's showing a 3-foot change in height, not a 4-foot change.
it's to 14, correct?
What are you asking me?
I'm sorry.
Go to the site plan.
I am, hold on.
I'm looking at page C 4.0 of revision 6 of the site plan.
Correct. I thought we just went to elevation 14.
Yes,
I'm looking at the table. The table for building height
Oh,
is going from 42 feet to 45.5, and 37 feet to 40 feet. So that doesn't appear to be reflecting the 4-foot increase that you're talking about.
okay.
And I think you also need to submit a revised application with the changed building heights on it as well.
and also, I get it, I guess I'm, Dave and others are a little confused. The C 4.0 that was in our packet, yes, deals with a peer review, revision 6 of October 29th, but it's dated, the site plan layout is dated October 8th, right?
Yes.
So nothing has been revised since October 8th, or nothing that we've seen.
No, the site plan was revised October 29th as well.
Well, why is this dated October 8th?
That may be the first peer review response was October. The site plans were set was dated October 8th. And the letter was dated October 9th. Then there was a second round on October 29th, plans 30th for the letter date.
So there were things that were added to the October 8th plan in response to the peer review, and that shows up
Correct.
on revision 6.
Correct.
Okay, just as a matter of procedure, wouldn't it have been a little more accurate to, under the second box from the bottom to the far right? Shouldn't it say October 29th?
Down here?
Way down, yeah.
I see you didn't change the date on the bottom. See where it says October 8th?
Uh-huh.
It
Oh, I'm
should
sorry.
match the
Yes, that
current
should
date.
match. It's revised up here. I'm sorry. It should be.
Because we need plans that will, in hindsight will be easy to reference.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a little confusing. Okay. Well, I still need to see the a little more detail, I guess, than you've provided in this letter of which I don't have.
Okay.
I don't think I have. At any rate, Dave, we can move on, but I don't see the data in terms of all the impervious elements. Could you go back over to that table that you were referencing off
Mhm.
You can show them the letter one too.
somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay, now lot coverage. Oh, and you said lot coverage detail was in a letter of the 30th or something like that?
Correct. Sorry.
Can you bring that up?
Yes. I think I have that. There we go. So this includes impervious and pervious. We pull numbers out of here to detail the lot coverage.
Well, I'm not interested in I'm not interested in pervious. I'm interested in impervious. Your lot is 15,900 and change feet. So clearly the impervious is less than that. You're not even you're not even indicating which is pervious and which isn't beyond the pervious cobble pavement.
Well, we have
Impervious.
impervious. I could,
Yeah, but this isn't enough for us to go on. I mean, frankly, it's inadequate. So I think you've got to give a detailed listing of the impervious. We don't care about pervious. I mean, that's fine. I mean, the more the merrier.
By 3,000 square
yeah,
feet.
it is, okay.
So
Lot
just for
coverage is
this
different.
is Deb Keller with Merrill Engineers. For clarification, so though we have buildings that are over mean high, we'll exclude that from the calculation so that you're looking at the calculation that says, which is on the table on the plan, that says out of the 15,000, actually that says 46,000, 46%, yes? So the clarification is that we need to look at the building and impervious pavement existing that's on the lot coverage of the 15,000 above mean high
Right.
compared to what's proposed, which will be a reduction, but we can get those numbers for you.
Yeah, we would need that as part of our decision, clearly, we detail, but I would assume that would include impervious would be the bituminous concrete sidewalk
That is correct.
Correct.
and the ADA compliant ramps, plural,
Correct.
signposts, flagpoles,
Mhm.
Retaining walls,
right,
build,
paved loading area, walkway to meet sidewalk. All that.
yes, that is correct.
Okay, and what about the proposed three-tiered amphitheater over the retaining wall?
Yes, that would be considered impervious because you have a retaining wall below. Correct.
For that area.
And you would have a roof there above it, oh, no.
No,
you
those are
wouldn't.
just,
No,
just-
no, you
those
wouldn't.
are
Okay.
just like seating.
Got it. Well, whatever, I mean.
Yeah.
You know, but we would need to know how those are constructed. If it's impervious, fine. If it's pervious, you know, that's a different issue. But we need to have a little more detail there. Okay. Secondly, parking, of course, and I think we're probably in alignment as I see it, Dave, but let me just go over a couple of usage issues in terms of parking. Because we don't have any excess space for parking, your client has agreed, I believe, not to put words in their mouth, but there won't be any food or beverage served or sold in any of the proposed buildings other than food or beverage served and provided by registered guests. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I mean, the phrase for cooking self-service, I mean, would seem to address that, but I just want to be sure that we're in alignment there. Okay, so there's no such thing as a public restaurant or any of that thing. And what about public use of the lounge and lobby? It seemed to us at our last hearing that would be okay if the so-called public were guests of registered patrons, but not kind of walk-ins or non-registered guests of the establishment. Is that correct? These are not going to be public spaces in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, the public access is allowed to visit. That is my understanding.
Okay. I mean, as I say, I don't want to put so much words in your mouth as just be sure that we're on the
Yep.
on the same wavelength. How does that then relate to the Captain's Walk? How does one access the Captain's Walk?
So I don't,
As a member of the general public, not as a member, not as a registered guest.
From the sidewalk along Border Street.
Okay, so they will access that way. That presumes that they won't be driving up or doing anything like that, parking on the street any more than the town would permit, correct?
Correct. It connects to the, yes, to the sidewalk. How people park, if they park up on the sidewalk is, I think, out of our control.
Okay. And so if there is another portion of the Captain's Walk down in the, I don't know what they're calling the restaurant complex there, but it's also Co-Lobster, right? But it's the old Atlantica site, correct? The Captain's Walk goes around the,
Oh, sure. Let me pull it up. That probably will help.
so if I'm just envisioning myself as a member of the public, I
Sure. I think it's
somehow
probably-
access the Captain's Walk. I then go down the street.
Right, so you'd be walking along the sidewalk here,
Right,
then you can just walk right over and around.
right.
Come down, the sidewalk does end. There's a crosswalk here. The sidewalk's maintained in front of the entire lot. Well, not the entire lot, most of the lot. This building not in front of. Does-
Okay. Who owns the Captain's Walk? Is it your applicant or is it the town? Or is there an easement or some other arrangement with the town?
Uh,
I believe the applicant owns the
my
Captain's
purview,
Walk.
but I would say that, yeah.
It is. Sorry, could you not, Woody, could you hear me? The
Yeah.
applicant owns it.
Okay, the applicant owns it, and the applicant is not providing any public access per se, other than as was just described, walk along the sidewalk and then go up and around the complex, correct?
Right, it's public access and it's also within, I believe, within chapter 91 jurisdiction, or elements of it are.
Okay, so that gets you over the water dependent use kind of
Yep.
hurdle, I presume. Okay, is there or is there no longer a pier and gangway?
That has not been constructed. It does not exist.
Okay, and I
If-
think Adam Brodsky in a letter had said that that would be a separate application were there to be one.
Correct.
That was my understanding, yes.
Okay, so at this point, we're not ruling on any pier or walkway. Just want to be sure. The other two items I had were one of a major storm event, off-site parking.
Mhm.
It was alluded to in I think Adam's letter that they would approach the town, or the applicant might approach the town to see if there can be additional spaces created in back of the light keepers facility. It was called the innkeeper's facility, but that was just a misnomer.
My understanding is, I believe, what Adam conveyed to me is that there was potentially an arrangement to have parking during sort of major storm events like that occur at the MBTA lot, and then people would be bussed over or shuttled
You
over.
mean the MBTA lot on Route 3A?
The Situate
Oh,
MBTA lot, I
okay,
believe it
okay,
is.
yeah. I'm sorry, that's much closer. Okay.
Yes,
But that would require an agreement, which I think we'd probably like to see in writing with the MBTA. That it would accept that.
I believe it is public parking. I don't have those details to my hand, so we can.
Okay, well, we can just,
We can
you know,
look
mark
into
that. I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
obstreperous here. It's just You
Yes.
know, it's a very good concept. I don't care as long as there's some provision.
Yeah, it-
As opposed
it
to,
is-
having patrons' cars underwater.
The team is clarifying for me that it is pay to park and they can park as of right there. And
Okay.
they can just bring people over as necessary.
And the other problem I had, and it's kind of indicated in yellow in the draft decision, is that the statistics of facade area within the setback and all that sort of stuff, increases or decreases. The math is off. The last table I saw was dated, I think it's August. And it was CA-ZBA 26 August. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 tables and a summary table. I haven't seen any update of that, but if you look at the math on that, and this is CA-ZBA of August 26, that may have been updated. I don't know. I don't have it, any update. The numbers are easily corrected. I don't take issue with what's up, what's increasing and what's decreasing, but to give you an example, one of the elements is the setback of the east wick. And it's listed as going up. I apologize for my back to the screen. 164% as a percent change. That's not correct. It's 64%. People have added a 1 or things of that sort, and the facade area and setback main in actually decreases, but it's shown as an increase. And the percent change, they're all wrong. So those tables all have to be corrected. Simple math, probably takes somebody 5 minutes. But they can't be official in terms of any submission to anything that the board's got to consider.
I believe Karina can speak to that. She's
Hey,
raising her
Karina.
hand. Thank you.
Woody,
Or Susan, somebody.
I will address a couple of things here. We did resubmit the charts of the facade calculations based on the additional nonconformity that we've created, bringing the floor to elevation 14. The numbers have been reviewed at least 10 times, so I can speak to the accuracy of what you at least have now. I'd be happy to go back and go to the original submission.
No. If we agree that the original submission, the numbers are wrong, what am I looking at? Give me a sheet.
They get checked and rechecked. So if it's an issue of confidence, I'd be happy to sit with you and go.
No. I just think the board needs, if they're going to be statistics on a submission or on a plan, they've got to be accurate, including things such as increases or decreases. But what sheet are you referencing that has the new table on it?
I can share it. It's if I can share my screen.
This is October 7th.
This has the original date was October 7th, but then when you go to the revision table, it's dated October 8th.
Okay, with the elevated height revision.
Correct.
Okay, I wanted to talk about that.
So
Okay, go ahead, Dave. I can't really read this, but it's too small, but
I'll try to zoom in. So which area would you like to review?
well, the facade area, is up. The facade area and setback main in is up 46%, not 146%. In the east wick, the facade area is up 120%, not 220%. And all the numbers above are equally incorrect. Now, easily done. I mean, but somebody has added 100%, which is a doubling. It's not the same as, that would be 0% change. So, I mean, it just gets confusing, and it's going to be confusing down the road if the application is going to be amended or people, whatever. This isn't tricky stuff, but all these numbers have to be fixed. I don't know, I must have misplaced it, but it doesn't matter because it's the same type of error that existed back in August.
I would be happy to go through these charts and break it apart and resubmit
Okay,
for clarification.
can we talk about the height for a minute?
Sure.
What is the total increase in the height for the flood elevation changes?
It varies between the two buildings, so it's not an exact number because I believe the original height of the Eastwick Inn is different than the original height of the main inn.
I understand that, but how much are they going up?
They're going up to elevation 14.
From elevation 10. Is that right?
9 and 10, yep.
Okay. And the reason I ask is because looking at the plans, it shows the Eastwick Inn going up 5 feet. And the main inn going up a little more than 5 feet. It just the height changes that show on the plan seem to be higher than the height changes of the pier. Does that make sense?
I would have to review this. These have all been elevated according to how they needed to be elevated. They're not all exact at their original, whether it was 9 feet elevation or 8 feet. Approximately 4 or 5 feet in height.
Well, it makes a difference. 4 or 5 feet in height is it's a foot of additional stuff that's non-conforming, for one thing. It's also a difference of a foot in height. And I think the buildings are over height anyway. And if the necessity to raise them for changes in flood elevations is 4 feet, then they shouldn't be any more than 4 feet higher than they originally are. They shouldn't be 5 feet higher. And that's what's troubling me, is I don't understand why the discrepancy exists between the increased height by necessity and the increased heights that we're seeing on the plans. Does that make sense?
I think I'm a little confused by that.
Okay. The plans show at least a 5-foot increase in height for both of the buildings.
Correct.
You don't need to increase the height of the piers by 5 feet to get it up to the appropriate flood elevation. Isn't that right?
You would have to increase the height of the piers because you have to support the floor.
Oh, I understand that, but how high, much higher do the piers have to be to get them compliant with what the new flood elevations will be? I mean, my recollection was the original plan was that it was going up 3 feet. And now we understand that it has to go up another foot. So 3 plus 1 is 4. So why is the building 5 feet higher?
I guess I can't answer that right now without going through my notes.
Okay, but it's important because
I mean, I think we can,
tables in the applications reflect,
Mhm.
you know, the old height that hasn't been changed at all yet, but any permit that we issue has to have accompanying plans, and the plans have to be consistent with what you say you're gonna build. And right now, I don't quite understand the, how they harmonize with what you say you're needing to do.
I mean, I think I can with confidence tell you that the heights are changing per the elevation drawing, such as on the main inn, the existing peak height is at elevation 42, and we're proposing it to go to elevation 47. That I can say with confidence.
Okay, so that's 5 feet,
That's 5 feet.
Correct.
right?
Correct. And that increase is the same for the Eastwick building.
I understand that.
But Dave's point is simple. Why is it 5 feet if only 4 feet is required?
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to meet the 10th building code, there were a couple of adjustments higher for a flood, but we're designing the first floor elevation to now be at elevation 14, we're basing it at 14, to meet next year's building code. We went up another foot at some point to go from this year to next year.
You originally came in at 3 feet, was my recollection.
And then an extra foot for a flood resiliency, and then the building code there, as they changed the AO zones, that was per John Hallen to design to that elevation 14.
Okay, so you originally came in looking for an additional 3 feet. You want
Yes.
another foot for flood resiliency per the new code, right?
Plus another foot for elevation 14 will be the 10th building, 10th edition building code, which will be effective January 1st. That
So are you telling me that you originally came in looking for 4 feet increase in height?
No, 3.
3. And then through the iterations with the town, with the different offices and conservation and the flood zones, we're a foot above flood elevation, but then we're designing to, we're going a foot above the design flood and then another foot for next year's design flood, as I recall. I mean, we've been through this a lot of some trying to paraphrase. I could probably backtrack how we got to elevation 14, but
That was a request of John Hallen. Said that he
I
was
think
gonna
we
be
need to
reviewing-
see, I think we need to have John give us a stem to stern memo on this issue. Why was it first 3 feet, then up 4 feet, and now 5 feet? And what code and you know, what is he referencing and so on and so forth? I think we need that as part of the file.
I can relay that message to John. He's not in attendance in this meeting this evening.
It's okay. I mean, alternatively, we haven't really dealt with this issue, but some could argue that rather than raise the overall height of the building, just lower the existing building by 3 or 4 or 5 feet so that it does comply with zoning, as opposed to exacerbate an existing nonconformity.
It would make the buildings unusable.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a different nonconformity, would it? Because you'd be making modifications to the building within the nonconforming areas. So it's not lesser, it's just different. I think raising the existing buildings was seen as the more appropriate course here.
Right, but I think the issue that Dave is getting at clearly is Are you getting more than you need? Are you asking for more than you really need?
So I'm looking at the August plan, and
Dave, give us a sheet number as a citation.
it's A105 ZBA.
A105, okay.
It's the west and north elevation of the Eastwick Inn. And the proposal is for the height of the building to go from 37 to 40. And I don't recall any time before tonight hearing that the height of the buildings or the piers needed to go up any more than that 3 feet. Tonight, I understand that they need to go up another foot to meet the upcoming new flood elevations in building code. That's fine, that's 4 feet. I don't understand where the other foot is coming from because it seems to have just snuck in here between the August plan and tonight and is not explained by the new building code. It's not explained by anything yet. And it does add an additional foot of height to these buildings that are already over height. So I really need to understand where that other foot is coming from and why.
So, do you have anything further on this, Susan Korea? I think it seems like we'll have to dig in. Basically, we're proposing it for the reasons stated, for the resiliency and for the upcoming building code. I cannot speak at the moment as to the question mark as to the additional foot.
Well,
So-
the architectural purpose is to keep the building in the same massing because we will be required to be doing that down the road with other permits we'll be seeking. So we are literally taking the forms and moving them up.
Yeah, I get that.
We're also-
That's not a question
Okay.
at all. I know the same buildings are going up. The question is, the same buildings are going up 5 feet instead of 4 feet. They're going up 5 feet instead of the original proposal of 3 feet because of a 1 foot additional requirement. So there's an extra foot in there between August and now that's unexplained.
We did not make that change until after our second hearing with the ZBA.
Okay,
So that's why you're seeing the latest additional height for the first time.
I'd like to see the regulations as they exist, vis-a-vis the height of these buildings and as they are expected or proposed to go into effect in January. We don't have any of that data or in front of us, explanation. It's just a drawing that shows it going up an extra foot.
Yeah. And I know we have it. We've been, if I may, a few rounds in this, how we got there, 1 foot above the flood elevation and then another foot for next year. I don't want to misspeak now. We can summarize that. We've been through iterations, how we went from 13 to 14. So we have some data to summarize. We can clearly explain that process.
okay, because it's the 1 foot above flood elevation that I think is what the question is here.
For the design flood. Yeah, that's a design requirement. I will work with the team. We'll summarize that for you.
Why was that? Was that a design requirement
It's
in the original plans? Or was it not?
It's a design requirement based on the upcoming building code, but it's also a requirement for resiliency with MIPA.
So when the original plans were submitted, requesting a 3 foot increase in height for flood resiliency. Okay, and now the building code is going to change to add another foot to that. And then there's another foot in here for something. And if it's a design requirement, why wasn't it included in the original design?
It was our intent, or at least our goal, to have the drawings filed for permit before the new building code went into effect.
So is the new building code requiring an additional 2 feet?
Yes. In order for it to, the building code and in NEPA.
Well, I'm sure you can provide all that detail. Not just a citation, but excerpt or,
Sure.
Okay. Yes.
yeah, because this
No, I-
doesn't make sense. The way it's been described, it may make sense, but needs better explanation.
A lot to understand. It's a lot to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'd like John Hallen to be on the review side of that. Don't you think, Dave, that it would be
Absolutely.
appropriate?
Absolutely.
I mean, a conversation with John isn't the same as a written memo or opinion from him.
All right. Woody, do you have anything else?
No, I just like to review that the tables in the old CA-ZBA have to be revised in terms of change. There is the issue of, is this excessive increase in facade or setback or not? That's a different matter for the zoning board, but I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a very detailed list of all the components of lot coverage. I don't care about pervious. I might ask if a cobble stone
Uh-huh.
setting is pervious or impervious. It's got to be anchored. The cobblestones have to be anchored with something, presumably some sort of mortar, don't they?
No.
Got them listed as pervious, I think.
Right, it's over, that's where we're gonna do over lands, existing lands, so that would be pervious. I
No,
know,
no. A structure is either pervious or impervious,
correct,
no matter what the land is.
okay. We would assume the cobble or the seashell cover is pervious.
Seashell is different from cobble. Your plans indicate, I think, cobble, don't they?
No, I think they've been revised in the last revision to change the driveway to
Well,
seashell.
you can get us a revised plan.
I can show you that here if you like, but yes, it's on the current plans.
And you do need to harmonize the application with the plans so that all the numbers.
Sure, sure.
Right.
We'll clarify pervious and impervious, and then we have for, I think, the flood compliant zoning, but requirement, we have, that's a structural, that's a coverage issue. Or structural coverage, which is support or shelter, correct? In the flood resiliency?
Right, lot coverage encompasses everything from as minor as a signpost or a flagpole. I mean, I don't know what you've got planned, all the way to buildings, anything that's got a
Yes,
roof over it, basically, or some
Sure.
sort of covering. But it
Right.
also can be ground level covering, such as asphalt or concrete. Or
yeah, we can clarify all that, I think. I don't think we assume pavement to be structural coverage because it doesn't.
it is,
There is support, isn't that shelter
trust me,
support?
pavement is part of it.
Okay,
It's impervious. The water can't, if it hits the pavement and bounces off, that's impervious.
yeah, I do understand that. Okay, we will clarify all this.
All right. So other board members, Lee? Anything?
No, I don't think I have anything to add. That was you and Woody were extremely thorough.
All right, Charlie? Charlie, anything you want to add? How about Matt?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. I know that Mr. Collins originally had his hand up. I don't know if he still wants to ask a question or make a comment. If so, go ahead and raise your hand, Mr.
There's,
Mr. Collins, he is there. Okay, he's got his hand up. Let's bring him in first. Okay, Mr. Collins, you're muted right now. There you are. Good evening.
Evening all. It's very interesting, the give and take that we've had tonight. I know you people have given it an awful lot of thought. I am very, very concerned that this is the last piece of water dependent use in the chapter 190, chapter 1
91.
bylaw for the harbor. It's in chapter 91 protects traditional maritime industries such as fishing and shipping and ship repair, boat repair, from displacement by commercial or residential development. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. Now, through some legal legerdemain, we found that the amount of water dependent use on the drawings that I've looked at is just a small fraction of the entire piece of the property, which I can recall from the last 75 years that property has been used exclusively for water dependent use as a boatyard, as a marine chandlery, as a lobster pound. So somehow we've reduced it down to this little teeny piece of land that is the water dependent use. Now, in order to build this boutique hotel or inn or whatever, however you want to describe it at this point, it's certainly not water dependent use in any way, shape, or form. The land itself, as I see it, and based on been around here a long time, it currently is used as a lobster pound. We could have in there a canvas shop. We could be selling food and beverages and water. We could have boat and kayak rentals. We could have marine repairs, both mechanical, hull, and mast stepping for the sailboat fleets. We could have a naval architect in there. We could do boat storage. We could sell fuel. I know fuel is probably off the list because of the hazards associated with it today and the pollution requirements. But all of those things are available to be done. And a lot of them can be done in concert with one another on that piece of property. Now, what's the return on investment on that? I have no idea. Mr. Sullivan has paid a lot of money for that piece of land, and I'm sure he wants a substantial return on investment. I can't find any fault with that. However, it has taken something away from Cohasset that makes the Cohasset Harbor a unique place. And over the last 75 years, I've watched bit by bit, piece by piece being taken away for developments that don't particularly lead themselves to any improvement in the marine life of the harbor. And I really and truly think that the board gives serious consideration to the fact that we are taking something away that's part of what makes Cohasset Cohasset. I've been hearing for years about the quintessential Cohasset and the quaintness of Cohasset. Well, as far as I can see, that ship left a long time ago. But we still have a little bit left, and that's what we should really try to protect. Those are my comments. I have no other axes to grind. I appreciate that. Well, the other piece of information that I do have is that I hear rumors on the street. I know you guys can't rule on rumors, but that the plans are, well, maybe it won't work too well as a hotel, and we're going to try and make some long-term rentals out of it. What my suspicion was all the way along was they'd run it as a hotel for a year or two and come back with bringing their hands and rolling their eyes and say, gee, we can't make it as a hotel and we'd like to make it into condominiums. I can just see that coming down the street. So this is a step in that direction. Again, that's rumor. I can't substantiate it, but it needs to be looked at. I could go on and on. It's been a long meeting and you people have got a lot to do, but I think you've heard my observations and comments, and I hope you act on them. Thanks.
Yeah, we very much appreciate your comments, Mr. Collins. Just a couple of notes, just so it's clear what we can and cannot do here. We don't have any jurisdiction over Chapter 91. It's a whole separate licensing procedure through the state. If the state permits this kind of use, our job is to make sure that whatever is proposed complies with the use and the design and the setback requirements that the zoning law sets out. We can only talk about and enforce the zoning law. As far as whether something else might happen down the road, we are looking at a specific permit for hotel use. And if we issue a permit, that's what it will be for. If the applicant at some point down the road wants to use it for something else, they're going to have to go through another permitting process that's going to look at all the, the things that we're supposed to look at to protect the interests of the town. And if that happens, I expect we'll see you again, and hopefully we'll have as much constructive advice as you've given us tonight. So thank you.
Thanks for the hearing, and I'm just so concerned that once this the horse is out of the barn, there's no bringing it back, and that's what my concern is. I don't know where to go from here as far as Chapter 91 goes, but
yeah, I think that's Chapter 91's concern too. So that's the burden that they have to carry when they try to get their Chapter 91 license.
Yeah, Dave, I would kind of interject that while we have no authority or really responsibility to deal with Chapter 91, a citizen like Mr. Collins could always contact the state DEP and
absolutely.
their an opinion as a citizen. But that's not us, but you certainly are free to do that anytime with any state agency.
but thanks, Woody. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Mr. Cantillon, did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. And so Philip Cantillon, 97 Border Street. And first, I'd like to thank everybody on the call for being so thorough, both for the applicant and the town. It's very interesting information. Mr. McMorris, maybe building on your point a little bit ago, when I read the application, it said transit housing, if I remember correctly. And you mentioned hotel specific. Just trying to understand what options would go, assuming everything were approved, what other types of use of the property other than a hotel could be used for the property. And I understand the intent of the applicant, but if the property were sold at some date in the future, assuming everything would carry with that, what other uses of the property could be used under that transit housing application?
They can use it for the specific purposes that they've applied for this permit for and nothing more.
Okay, so it'd be hotel only then.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it was more of a question of clarification because as I'm sure the board knows, transit housing has a number of different things that fall under that title, but we appreciate the clarification. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak or ask a question? You need to raise your hand using the little button at the bottom of the screen. All right, I don't see anything. So anyone from the applicant have anything they want to add?
Just at this time, I know there's been a lot of time spent on all this, and I know this is not your first hearing on this. The applicant would request, if the board will entertain it, closing the hearing and then conditioning it on provision of the requested information that you've asked for tonight. So
I don't think we're in a position to close the hearing until,
Okay.
I mean, the building height is a big issue. It's going to be a very visible project, and we need to be pretty reassured as to what it's all about and why, and what the actual height is. But we don't wish to hold things up any longer than is necessary to hold them up. And we do have a draft decision now, which will be worked on some more between now and the next meeting. So we'll get things moved along as quickly as we can, but this is a major project in a very sensitive part of town. And we're going to take as much time as we need to make sure that everything's T's are crossed and I's are dotted.
David, I don't want to downplay though the lot coverage calculations, the increase, the bad math, if you will, or the incorrect math that's on submitted plans. I mean, I think they have to be letter perfect.
Right. Those are the T's and I's.
Something not kind of held off for a later date, and that probably would include if your plans are to have off-site parking at the MBTA station in North Situate. there should be something in writing.
So I will clarify on that one. I was directed to, it will be a condition of the planning board decision. It is in a letter, a draft version of this condition is in a letter that was sent to the planning board that I'm not certain if it was sent to you, but it will be for your information.
Okay, great, thank you. All right. So, Woody, do you want to move to continue the hearing?
Yeah, I'd like to with you, but just one little parenthetical add. I can understand citizens' concern about this being converted into condos or other kinds of lodging, but while this is eligible for a special permit, a condo would require a variance. And the variance standards are, as the attorney and others understand, is a real different ballpark. So I don't think a conversion, as Dave had mentioned earlier, is possible without a separate hearing and probably a different set of, to a degree, a different set of criteria. So that doesn't mean we would or wouldn't approve something, but it just simply says that it's a whole different ball of wax. It could not be done administratively. So with that, I would make a motion to continue the hearing until, help me, December what, Julia?
3rd.
December 3rd, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, Woody,
Woody Chidick, aye?
Lee,
Our side.
Charlie,
Bill Eganson, aye.
Dave McMorris, aye, Matt.
Matt Watkins, aye.
All right, so the 82 Border Street hearing has been continued until the December meeting. Let me just unshuffle some paper here and we'll get to the next piece of business.
And William, will you be also supporting 94 Black Horse Lane?
Yes, unfortunately, you're stuck with me for the balance of the evening, or at least this next hearing.
No, but nobody could accuse Adam Brodsky of being stupid. He let you.
Very true.
He'll owe you.
No, he just had another hearing he had to attend. No, he doesn't play favorites. He would love to be here if he had the opportunity.
Oh, I'm sure.
Trust me.
Yeah.
All right, the next hearing is a continued hearing on 94 Black Horse Lane for a dock special permit. I understand is it Eads?
It is Eads, yes, thank you.
Mr. Eads is going to be speaking on behalf of the applicant. I see Mr. Duno is here and Carmen Hudson as well. I see Mr. O'Mara is still here. Is he on this project as well?
Oh,
He is
I
not.
think he just says not.
Okay. All right, so who's going to begin? Mr. Eads?
Absolutely. So
Floor is yours.
we're back on this hearing as well. I'm joined again, William Eads from DTM Law, joined by Nino DeNuno, the applicant, and Carmen Hudson of Campos Hudson Engineering. My understanding is there have been no further requests for, comments or revisions at this point, and that the applicant has provided the plans as previously requested, and it isn't going to be making any further revisions. At this point, we're requesting that the hearing be closed and decision be issued. We understand there's draft decision written, so Carmen is here to, available to answer and if there are any questions. But my understanding is that is where we are.
Okay. Matt, you're our designee on this one. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't have any questions as far as any additional detail needs or anything.
Anyone else?
There is a hand raised in the public participants. It's Charlie Ames.
All right, can we bring him forward? All right, Mr. Ames, you were with us, but you are muted and we can't see you.
Does that work?
There you, we can hear you now.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead.
The question is whether you're going to finish the fact finding today and decide later. Is that correct?
What usually happens at this point, if we decide to close the hearing, we will deliberate later this evening, and there'll be a decision issued sometime in the near future. I do think there was a question last time about the proximity to Supper Island, and I don't know if we had an answer to that at this point. Do you know, Matt?
I'm sorry. If I may answer that question, I did address it at the last hearing. And it wasn't to Supper Island, it was to the entrance to the channel that is between Supper Island and the properties at 70, 80, and 90. If I may just share the plan. So this was a plan that I had submitted before the first hearing, and it shows the distance. So Supper Island is over here. That would be northeast of this area. This is where the channel is. There's a narrow channel between Supper Island, and here's number 90, 80, and then 70 Black Horse Lane. And the distance between the proposed pier and the channel is 68 feet. And that is in the record.
No, just, we want to speak, just speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Ames.
I think there's some confusion there on that measurement. It was 65 feet from the waterway to the dock was what we were told from Carmen. And the question is whether she took the South Bridge as the starting point to go to the dock, or whether she used the spread of the waterway as it approaches the water, the cove, as I've been calling it. Can we have an answer to that?
Do you understand the question, Carmen?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, why don't you, perhaps if you tell us where the 65 feet is calculated from and to, that might help.
That's right.
So let me just open everything. So I just spoke of the distance between the pier and the channel that is between Supper Island and the neighboring property. So this is number 90, then it's number 80, number 70. I thought that was your question, David. Now regarding 65 feet, I don't know what that is, but at the last hearing, we were speaking about the distance between the end of the salt marsh and the end of the pier, and that is about 60 feet. So maybe that is the distance that that the gentleman is referring to, Mr. Ames.
No, I'm asking, you told us a minute ago that the waterway from near Supper Island to the dock is, I think you said 68 feet.
Yes, so that is, so 68 feet from the pier to this channel, and that channel is this channel right here.
Okay.
So the distance between this pier and this channel is 68 feet.
Well, I think that's not what I understood, but the issue here is what happens when somebody with a board, paddle board, it comes through underneath the second bridge, tries to stand up, and is hit by the whatever the tide is coming off the river around the point of the south side of Supper Island. I can envision, and the worry that we have is that people who are not terribly good at paddle boards, don't have excellent balance, are going to be thrown off their boards, and if the dock is anywhere nearby, there could be a head injury. And it's really about that kind of whirlpool emotion I would think you would get at a place where water is rushing from both directions.
Okay, I understand your concern here.
Carmen, I probably should ask, have you begun the process with conservation yet?
No, we have not begun yet. We wanted to close this hearing before moving forward with conservation.
So if this board did end up closing this hearing and conservation had modifications, that you would file a new application?
Normally, if there are going to be any modifications, they would be, making the pier smaller.
Yeah.
Right now we are, and normally what we do is whenever there are any revisions due to conservation or chapter 91, we submit them to every board. For example, if there's conservation has any issue with anything, could be, I mean, that this pier is the height and the width that it is because of previous comments from conservation, and you can see that in the conservation letter provided to this board, as well as as the comments for this special permit application, and they also come from chapter 91. But if the Conservation Commission makes any, they're not going to ask us to make the pier lower or longer or wider. It would only get smaller. And normally what we do is then we would submit a copy of that plan to the building inspector to keep him abreast of the the new configuration as a new plan of record. And then when we go through chapter 91, it's the same procedure. If they have any changes, then we provide a copy of that plan to both conservation and ZBA to keep them abreast of the the latest revision to the approved plans. And then, of course, whoever, if conservation or the building inspector requires anything further from us, then we would do it.
So does that mean that you're not taking a position on the proximity, the importance of the proximity of the waterway to the dock? Is it, or are you just saying that's my opinion, but they may differ?
I'm sorry, Mr. McMorris. I don't know if you want me to address.
Yeah, you can respond to that.
Question, or...
I mean, I guess I can jump in. I mean, one of the reasons maybe I asked the question about conservation, and I guess the board hasn't deliberated on this, but I do think that, as we talked about in some of the prior meetings, our jurisdiction has a few different criterias that it's limited to, but chapter 91 and conservation might have some additional feedback that might relate more to where the dock ultimately sits at the end. I guess to Carmen's point, if anything, it would probably be modified to reduce or shrink it so it wouldn't add additional impact to what we would look at. Oftentimes we do see the process played out in parallel, so conservation might be reviewing it at the same time as us, but So Mr. Ames, I'm not sure if you were asking if the, I guess part of my opinion on the end of the dock is that I do think that Chapter 91 and conservation will also be taking a close look and a hard look at what that does for navigation and what that does for, kind of environmental impacts. Now, our board does have some leeway to look at that, but, that's, I guess, just a party of one's, can't.
Well, I can understand that. The other area we touched on in the last meeting was the orientation of the lot and the orientation of the piers and the length of the piers as they approach the water. And I don't think there was any agreement about any of those issues. So, for example, we believe that the right place to end the pier is at the line of demarcation between the flats and the marsh. And that's the normal way people do it. And they put the ramp right at that point too, with so that it can go up and down with a tide. And that's quite different than the proposal, which uses piers all the way out to the current or close to the current. And I don't know where that's supposed to be resolved either.
Well, that's a good question, Mr. Ames. And our jurisdiction is relatively limited on docks. The town meeting has given us a lot of kind of parallel jurisdiction with other boards. The Conservation Commission has a lot more, I guess, authority over design and placement than we do. We have to look at setbacks. We have to look at heights. We do have some kind of general jurisdiction about harmony with the existing neighborhood. But the more specific concerns that generally apply to docks are usually lay with the state or with the Concom.
Well, that's all fine with me. I don't. It doesn't bother me at all if those two organizations are going to go about it. I think it'd be better if you didn't take a position on it if you haven't. We haven't talked it through.
Yeah, we don't really have a choice. We have an application before us. We have to issue a decision, and we have to issue a decision that's consistent with what the bylaw allows us to do and not do.
Okay. Well. The other issues, just for the record, are the walkway height. We think it should be 54 inches. The width should be 36 inches. The width of the walkway, that is. The floorboard spacing is not at issue, 3/4. And the railing should be made of rope. And that's a lot of that is just trying to make it work without creating a monster. And that's what we've got right now.
Mm-hmm.
In my
I share your concerns about the length of the dock.
Yeah.
And size of the dock.
Okay. When do you have any idea when the Conservation Commission would roll into action?
Have you submitted an application yet?
No, again, we were waiting to close this hearing to submit to conservation.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, just for the record, I had mentioned, I'm sorry, can everybody see this plan?
Yep.
Okay, so I had mentioned the 33 Cedar Lane dock at the last hearing. This was my dock for Marianne Murphy. This dock actually was just the pier was over 500 feet in length. The length of the dock beyond the salt marsh, just the pier, was about 80 feet. So this dock right here at 33 Cedar Lane is this dock right here. The dock that we're proposing next door at 94 is not 550 feet in length, it's 241. And it goes beyond the salt marsh by 60 feet, not 80 feet. So that is just the immediate dock to the south. So I just wanted to mention that and show you the plan.
Okay.
All right, anybody else in the audience? I see Mr. McGoldrick has his hand up.
He's being promoted to panelist.
Good evening, George McGoldrick, 107 Border Street, Cohasset, currently president of the Gulf Association. Just kind of mimicking what Mr. Ames talked about in terms of the length of the dock. I know Ms. Hudson just mentioned Ms. Murphy's dock that she had done, but I believe that dock was done 8 to 10 years ago. And I think it's preferential to look at the dock to the north at, I think it's 46 Black Horse Lane. That's the most recent dock. And that comes just to the other side of the salt marsh. And that's kind of what Mr. Ames was getting at, was minimizing the impact to the river. So if you look at where, I guess it's still on the screen, north of Supper Island, north of Black Horse Lane, there's a new dock there that is a year old, perhaps, and that just comes to the edge of the salt marsh. The other reason why we're asking for that same privilege for this particular dock is the access to the waterway. It is used by people for kayaking and supboards. So the further out it is into the waterway, the less likely people are going to want to go underneath and through the waterway, which is in a heavy wind. It's very advantageous to shortcut going around Supper Island. So we're not opposing the dock whatsoever. I think the applicant knows that. We've said that every time we've been on board. We're just asking to minimize the impacts to the river and the people that use the river. And in fact, if you look at the previous plan that Ms. Hudson had, at low tide, he's still basically in a foot of water. So there's no impact to the applicant, whether it's just over the salt marsh or 63 feet in, but it's a benefit to the river and everyone uses it if it's just over the salt marsh. Thank you.
Okay. Let me ask, I guess, does the applicant have any willingness to voluntarily reduce the length of the dock to bring it just to the salt marsh?
When we had our last ZBA hearing, all of us, that's Adam, Nino, and I, got on a call, and we were talking about this. We are just beginning the permitting process. As you know, every commission and board has their own set of regulations, their own interests, and this dock is not getting any longer. It will only get shorter through the process. And as far as the ZBA is concerned, as far as having it in the title flats, another one of my projects was on 73 Whitehead Road, and that goes, I think it's like 250 feet out in the title flats, and it still bottoms out every day. So, and as far as any restrictions on the waterway, excuse me, the river is the waterway. And as you get, actually, it might be easier to see here. This dock doesn't protrude, or this dock doesn't protrude into the waterway any more than this dock does. And this is immediately south of it, or this dock. If there is another dock right here, right across the the proposed dock, and this is what the waterway does. That's a huge width. As far as this is concerned, for example, the Chapter 91 and Army Corps don't allow us to use more than 25% of the waterway. Now this is the waterway, and this is not, it does not get at all close to 25% of the waterway. So every department, every commission, every board is going to have their chance to.
Carmen, I understand that.
Mhm.
It seems to me that rather than seeking the most offensive project here, saying that it'll get less offensive as it goes along, isn't really a great approach. And I mean, my question is the applicant willing to voluntarily shorten the length of the stock to bring it, end it just after the salt marsh?
So as we've been discussing, it meets the requirements of the zoning bylaw. The applicant doesn't have an interest in doing that.
Okay, that's the answer.
That's the simple answer.
All right, anybody else have anything?
There are 2 participants that had their hands raised. First was George. He's in the panelist view right now, and then Charlie Ames has a follow-up question.
Okay. So is this George McGoldrick on another line, or?
I'm not sure.
So we have George. Is not coming on. Okay, can we just leave him there and bring Mr. Ames back?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Ames, you're muted.
Okay,
There you go.
I didn't mean to raise my hand if I did before, but I do appreciate your comment about the taking the worst stock and making it what you're going to compare yourself to. I think we've been trying to see what the best practices are and follow those. And I think that's a much better way to approach it. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, thank you. And apparently George was Mr. McGoldrick, and he's had his question answered. So
Yes.
is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak? Is there anyone else on the board that wishes to add anything? All right. Matt, do you believe that we are in a position to close the hearing?
Yeah, I think I can't think of any other additional information that would need from the applicant, and it doesn't sound like the board has any additional questions, so
Okay.
I would make a motion to close the hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Woody Chidick?
Aye.
Lee
Darst.
Darst, aye.
Charlie Higginson?
Charlie Higginson, aye.
Dave McMorris, aye. Matt Watkins.
Matt Watkins, aye.
All right, the hearing on 94 Black Horse Lane, Lot 1 is closed.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a special permit application for 34 Brewster Road. Applicant Michael and Lauren Haggerty.
David, I'm going to recuse myself. This is
Okay,
Woody
Mr.
Chittick speaking.
Chittick is recusing himself from this hearing.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
John Teriyaki Architectural Design, and I'm here with the homeowners, Lauren and Mike Haggerty. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and explain you what the project is about.
Okay, great.
So 34 Brewster Road. Here's the footprint of the existing house with the adjacent abutter houses noted. And the project, the larger project involves renovation of the house to add a Cape style roof above it. It's currently more of a one-story house with a lower roof pitch, and we're adding dormers and a steeper pitch above the house, and we're adding a rear addition. All of those components are actually conforming with zoning. There's a small section of the project that is non-conforming, and that is this triangle here on the western side of the property where the house juts into the 20-foot setback line. And the proposed roof line we're putting above that triangle requires relief under section, the old 8.7. I know the section number has changed, but as an to extend the nonconformity, existing nonconformity.
Okay.
Just going to go into the architectural drawings. So here's the 76 square foot triangle noted on the existing first floor plan. And in the proposed first floor plan, again, our rear addition and our other modifications are conforming with zoning. The section that is not conforming is the roof line and the dormer replacing above this section. And we represented that on the elevations with the facade areas noted. So here is the gable style roof line on the street elevation, the southern elevation, and then the west elevation showing the shape of the non-conforming area as it wraps around. And then here is the rear addition as the non-conforming area tapers. That's basically the end of that triangle. So that's basically why we're in front of you tonight, to ask for relief to be able to compose this particular roofline design.
Okay, do we have a calculation sheet on the increased percentage of the facade?
We noted them individually, so I can just go over that real briefly. So the west facade went from 279 to, I'm just going to go back and forth, so 279 to 476. The front elevation went from 71 square feet to 105 square feet. And then in the rear, it's actually relatively similar, 18 square feet, because there's an existing piece of roof line. And then that's now 11 square feet because we went up vertically. So that clipped off some of the existing nonconformity there. So the biggest increase is on the front and side. Again, going from 279 to 476 and 71 to 105.
Okay.
Yeah, John, it probably would help. I made scratch notes, like you said. Oh, sorry for jumping in, David, but
Go ahead.
just like you said, it looks like 197 at the highest, the differential, and I think it's 34 on the southeast elevation. But probably just for the record, I know you just reviewed it, but it probably would make sense to just submit a real simple table that showed that calculation and the overall increase in the facade. I know it's not anything drastic, but I think it's worth submitting.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. We can submit that.
Anyone else on the board have any questions? I just wanted to ask one. I see that the increase here in the non-conforming area is going to be on the property line facing number 26. Do you know whether the neighbors have been consulted or discussed the project at all?
Yeah, I'm going to let the Haggertys respond to that because I know they have been talking to the neighbors actively. So
Okay.
I'll let Lauren and Mike clarify that.
Okay,
Oh yeah, hello everybody. This is Mike Haggerty. Nice to meet you all. So yes, our neighbors directly to our left are the Lincolns. They are fully aware. We've shown them the plans and they're fully supportive.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions, comments? Okay, just for your information, what we usually do in these situations is we continue the hearing until our next meeting. At the next meeting, there'll be a draft decision. If there's anything else to discuss, we'll discuss it at that meeting. Generally, we then close the hearing, vote on the decision at the end of the evening, and then you have a permit shortly after that.
Oh, great.
Okay?
All right.
That's assuming that we vote to authorize a permit. All right. So is there a motion to continue this hearing? Actually, I'll make one.
Actually, John, one question on that porch projection. I see 14.2, right? And I think you're showing 14.5 on the setback. Are you using like a less than 15 foot for that portion? Is that the rationale there?
Oh, yeah, the porch was actually, this covered porch is a permitted projection. Because it's under 30 square feet in area, and it does not project more than 6 feet into the lot line. That's why the setback is noted from the actual corner of the building as opposed to from the permitted projection. So it could, that could be revised if you think that it'll be more accurate to use the 14.2. We can revise the application accordingly.
Yeah, do you know, David, how we usually see that, or?
I don't. I believe that we don't measure from a permitted projection. We generally measure from the main building.
Okay. Then no, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay,
Do you mind if I just add a quick comment?
sure.
Two things with the site plan that I noticed. I'm not sure if they have to be added. The setbacks to the neighboring homes, and then also does the site plan have to be stamped by a professional engineer? I saw the land surveyor stamp, but I'm not sure if you need both.
I don't know the answer to that. John, do you know the answer to that?
I've seen one stamp or the other almost interchangeably. But that's just what I've seen, the site plans I've seen. Usually if there's significant civil engineering involved, like a stormwater drainage system or significant regrading, then I think probably the civil engineering stamps usually ends up going on the plan, but I've seen one or the other, just my personal experience, but the distances, we can have Morse Engineering add those. Depending on what the board prefers, like building to building or building to lot line.
Okay, and we'll just check into the issue on the engineer stamp and we'll let you know before the next hearing for sure.
Give you that dimension right now.
Pardon me?
I can give you that dimension right now.
Yeah. This is the scale, but if you want the dimensions noted specifically.
A laser tape, I could just go outside and shoot it from my.
Yeah, that's the most accurate, right?
Yep.
Thanks. I just wanted to check.
Thanks, Julia. Anyone else? All right, then I move to continue this hearing until our December 3rd meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, Lee Darst?
Lee Darst, yes.
Charlie Higginson?
Hey. Charlie Higginson, yes.
Dave McMorris, yes. Matt Watkins?
Matt Watkins, yes.
Okay, hearing's continued. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Let's see, where are we? Okay, so we got deliberation on 94 Black Horse Lane as our first item of business.
Okay, it's Woody Chidick. I'll rejoin.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to kick it off because I'm the liaison on the 94 Black Horse Lane.
You got the
Um,
lead.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us are a little bit conflicted in that the neighborhood and the associations bring up some good points about the look and feel and navigation of the area. I think and I'm sensitive to it as well, kind of live right across the street from it, so, and kayak in there, but I think at the end of the day, and I did see what town council sent us as well as far as where our jurisdiction starts and ends, and I did see the language in there about harmonious to the adjacent properties, but I couldn't kind of come to objecting, I guess, to the draft decision because I think that's kind of our jurisdiction, you know, I mean, that's what we're limited to, and that was my takeaway on it. So whether or not I even debated, you know, I don't think we've ever done this, but like would the board ever write a letter after our decision to one of the other boards, kind of like we get a note from conservation to say that they've reviewed the plan, to say we reviewed it and approved it based on our jurisdiction, but there were certainly concerns from neighbors about issues that were outside of our jurisdiction that should be further reviewed, you know. I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I think as far as the 3 check marks of what it needs to be approved by this board, it met all those criteria. So that was my takeaway on it.
Thanks, Matt. Charlie, any comments?
No, I think we're stuck with our prior decisions.
Lee?
I also read town council's comments, and I agree that, I think they made it clear that we have a very limited, jurisdiction, and that, we're probably best to follow their direction.
Well, I think it's an unnecessarily obtrusive project. I think it's probably just the first of some unnecessarily obtrusive applications we're going to get in the same area. I think it would be great if we had a little more consideration toward the change of at least visual beauty along that area that the stock will disrupt and other docks will disrupt. But I do agree that we are very handcuffed by the jurisdiction that we have. And I don't believe that there's anything in the bylaw that gives us the leeway to vote no. If we had any leeway at all, I would vote no, but I don't believe we do. Woody?
Does the planning board have any jurisdiction here or not?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, my concern would be yours, and I'm sure everybody's, and that's the proliferation, you know, of docks. I mean, there are docks to come here, just in this one particular eagle's eye view of the Gulf. I mean, I could see another 5 to 10 over the course of 5 years coming before the board, and it's going to be difficult. Which board? I don't know if is it a conservation commission issue in terms of navigable waters or
No, I think that's
unsightly structures or what?
I think
don't
the
see it.
navigable water stuff is all Chapter 91. Conservation Commission does have a lot of jurisdiction over the mud flats and the salt marsh and, you know, impact on waterways and all of that. They have the leeway that we don't have, I think.
I wonder if it'd be appropriate just to sort of urge them. I think this could be a seminal kind of decision in general, writ large, multi-board. And I'd like to see maybe, I know there's no such thing as precedent per se, but there is in another way, some guidelines that could be employed, if not by us, by somebody else to kind of keep down not the addition of a new pier or dock, but you know, the environmental impact and navigational impact that boards could follow. And Dave, you hit on it in terms of you know, marshland, tidal flats, that kind of thing.
Well, I think you know, as you said, there is no precedent, but there's precedent because we saw it tonight. You know, look at this dock, it's even worse. So the dock that we're proposing is not quite as bad as this one, so you should let us have this one. And this will be look at this, there's two docks that are this long, so a third dock is no different, and we'll just keep getting that.
Would there have, I mean, this area was subdivided by the planning board, correct? I mean, is there any way, I guess, I mean, I know this particular area, I don't know if we can do anything, but in the future, is there any way to add that to concerns for the planning board, saying if you're going to take this one lot and subdivide it into, you know, 4 or 5 waterfront, is there a way to limit the docks?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think so. An approval not required. Subdivision is simply that. It has to do with land access, and you know, that's again fairly limited. They could subdivide them and create 2,000 square foot lots if they wanted to. It doesn't make them buildable in any respect or inhabitable, but you know, you could sell a portion of the back of your yard to your neighbor if you wanted to. And I don't see it as planning board. I think it may be more, I don't know. I mean, I think it would be appropriate, Dave, maybe for us to ask if it's appropriate from town council, is it appropriate to communicate to the Conservation Commission, which seems to have the most jurisdiction, you know, concerns, and could there be sort of a template or a general set of principles?
Okay, I think
applied.
that's worth checking out with council.
And as opposed to everybody saying it's not my job, you know, I mean,
right.
I'm saying people are trying to dodge it.
I mean, you know, like like we had them tonight for Brewster that we just heard, you know, like department feedback from conservation, sewer, and others. I mean, this will be in front of conservation next. So, I mean, whether it's in that form or whether it's in the form of a letter to the board to explain where we landed on this, but what some of our hesitations were, is that appropriate? I mean, I think on the forms, that's always been appropriate to put in if we had a hesitation or concern.
Yeah.
I know we don't typically write like letters to other boards, but I don't think that we can't, right? If we wanted to.
I don't know. I think Woody's checking with town council is a good idea. We'll see.
Because my concern would be that it falls under nobody's jurisdiction in a way. Well, yes, maybe chapter 91. Okay, but I mean, they're far, far away from us. They don't, you know, they probably, I'm sure they look at a map and that's it. They have no, I'm not knocking it. I mean, you know. And do they consider things like paddleboard navigation or deep water?
Because I think one of them is a chapter 91 consults the harbor master directly for feedback as well, right?
I guess, yeah, because it's title, yeah. I don't know. I would think that it would be appropriate to ask the town council, is there a way to kind of come up with some general guidelines and which board, as opposed to no board, has jurisdiction? And maybe no board should, because it may be a state issue. I don't know.
Okay, let's make a note of that. see what they have to say. All right, anybody else have anything else to add on this particular application?
No.
All right. Matt, you want to do a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the decision as drafted for 94 Black Horse Lane for the dock, for the approval of construction of the dock.
In a second?
Second, if I could just add one thing, would it be appropriate to mention in this decision that while the board has concerns over intrusion into a waterway, it recognizes that this board does not have jurisdiction over such a matter, or is that just, kind of useless
Yeah, I don't think that's
commentary?
helpful.
Doesn't have any standing, yeah. Okay, I retract my thought.
All right, we have a moved and seconded to grant the special permit as drafted. Woody Chidick,
Aye.
Lee Darst,
Aye.
Charlie Higginson,
Aye.
Dave McMorris, aye, Matt Watkins.
Aye.
All right, that one's done. So we will move on to minutes, October 1st and October 8th. Folks had a chance to review them.
I reviewed the minutes for October 1st, which I attended, and I agreed with them. I did not attend the October 8th. I was sick, so I can't comment.
Yeah, I think that overall the minutes have been very well done. So good job, Julie. I think as I've looked through them,
Thank you.
been good. Like one thing I questioned on, actually, it was related to the docs and it was in the notes, and maybe it was in the discussion. I just don't know if I recalled it. That when we talked about our jurisdiction of docs in the last meeting minutes, so I'm just trying to flip through my paperwork here and see where that was. There was a comment in there that more or less said that when the bylaw was revised, that our restriction was changed, and I'm not sure that ever happened.
Jurisdiction, you mean, changed? I don't remember that, though.
I don't know that our jurisdiction ever got lessened by any of the recent bylaw changes, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding. It was just simply a
I don't think the consideration of whether it was substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood was ever part of the dock consideration. Is that what you're saying, Matt?
Yeah, and I'm just gonna flip through it here. I was wondering, and maybe this came up in discussion and it was just accurately reflected in the notes, but I wondered if in the notes it kind of alludes to, hey, we used to have more teeth, but because of the bylaw revision, we don't. That is probably not accurate,
Yeah, I think it's accurate that we had the discussion that what we were thinking was not accurate.
Okay. Yeah, so would we just leave it then?
Yeah, just leave it.
Yeah.
I had a small edit, Julia, and more of a process. Everything here is real-time current. Mr. Higginson supports, Mr. Chittick mentions, as opposed to past tense. Is there any, are you following kind of accepted procedures? I don't think it makes any difference much, but the minutes I've read up to heretofore have always been past tense. Mr. Chittick recommended or mentioned past tense. I don't know. Is
No, that's a great catch. Sometimes
well, it
when
may
I'm
not be
drafting
a
them,
great catch, frankly. I mean, it may be irrelevant.
I guess it's whichever you prefer to read it. I think while I was drafting them in the beginning, I just chose a direction and went with the present tense, but if you would like to see past tense, that works too.
I'm neutral. I'm not advocating one or the other. I just didn't know. Does it matter to anybody in the board? whether it's mentions as opposed to past tense mentioned.
I mean, I'm accustomed to reading past tense, but I kind of like the way this reads. It's sort of in the moment minutes.
Anybody object to what Dave is saying? I mean, because we could ride with this for a while unless I can't see it giving us any difficulty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty neutral on it too, so
Very neutral.
I'm good with it.
All right, no one has any issues. I saw one apostrophe's missing on page 5 of 9. And next to the last paragraph, Mr. Brodsky expresses concern as to if this is within the zoning boards, it should be an apostrophe before the S.
Okay, thank you.
But everything else.
Oh, well done.
Thank you.
I try to come up with those little things so that people think that I read them.
Yeah, you know, page 3 in the 7th line, going 4 words, and yeah, well.
Well, it's
All right,
great
well,
content.
I believe, Dave, that you've read this, so that's good.
I have a motion to accept the minutes as drafted for October 1st meeting.
Motion.
Okay, second. All those in favor, Woody Chidick,
Aye.
Lee Darsai.
Charlie Higginson,
Aye.
Dave McMorris, aye, Matt Watkins.
Bye.
Okay. Next, we have the minutes of October 8th, which is our zoning articles meeting. I didn't see anything in here that was of issue. Anyone else have comments?
No, the only thing I've no comments, because I'm sure Julia captured this exactly. I thought that if that we kind of left it that Tom on a couple of these amendments was amenable to, you know, making some suggested changes. So one is alluded to, and 2 would be kind of reissuing any changes so that we had a hard a copy of any changes that he was proposing to make based on our discussion and subsequent presentations to other boards. I haven't seen any changes. I guess I assume that it isn't the minutes I'm questioning, but I don't know how we exactly left it. Maybe we didn't ask Tom to give us any revisions per se.
I don't recall.
Okay, well, then we'll leave it. I mean, Julia, you're the one who listened to the meeting, so we weren't specific about, you know, coming back
About
before us.
the remaining amendments that needed revision or recommendations.
Deliberation, yeah, because that's all. I just remembered that he said he was on his way to talk to one or two more boards. And out of that, would there be, I don't know if it was expected that there would be any modifications. But I guess we didn't push hard on that one.
The only comment that I had in here, Julia, was when we took the attendance vote at the beginning, I wasn't there. And it says
Yeah.
absent.
Right.
I did come in at about, I think, 10 after. It probably should be noted in the minutes because further on I do second some things.
Well, it does say late arrival, but do you want to be more specific, like 10 minutes late arrival?
No, I didn't see where the late arrival is.
It's the very top of the October 8th. Members present. There's a bracket in italics.
Oh, I see. I see.
But it doesn't say whether you were, you know, late by 10 minutes.
That's
or
okay. That's
2
fine.
hours.
It shows up in the later on.
Is
That's
there
fine. I
another
didn't see that part.
location Oh, do you want me to put it in the minutes in a different location, like about
Arrived.
estimate what time?
Yeah, I
Chairman
think,
McMorris
you know,
arrived.
in future, just, Mr. McMorris joined the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably be clearer, so it couldn't be misconstrued that he was so late that he missed the essence of the discussion. I mean, that's not it. He was there in plenty of time.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion on the minutes for October 8th as amended. I move we accept them. Second?
Okay, Woody Chidikai.
All right, Woody Chidick, aye. Lee Darst.
I wasn't there.
Charlie Higginson.
Charlie, you're muted. Oh, well.
You're muted, Charlie. Want to just raise your hand for aye?
Not happening.
All right, Dave McMorris, aye. Matt Watkins.
Aye.
All right, let's move on to the fee schedule. Has everyone had a chance to look this over? We've had it for 3 meetings now.
Yes, I apologize. This was not included in your previous packets, I don't believe.
And we had a draft, right? That was
We
red in
drafted
red
this.
type, red print. And crossouts and all that.
I don't believe you had the copy of the fee schedule, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay. It was the procedure part, but
So, Julia, are these fees kind of in line with what the surrounding towns charge?
Yes, that's to my knowledge. Cassandra drafted this, sort of in the beginning of when I started, and that's how she generalized the fees.
Okay.
far be it from me to disagree.
I'm just curious as I'm looking at it. So the application fee for a home is $250, but for a sign or a dock, it's $300.
Wow, I missed that.
I'm just catching it now too, but it seems to be
That
like it should be the
that
other way
doesn't
around.
square. With the importance or the time that it takes to deal with docks, given our limited jurisdiction.
Because I see signs and docks are looped in with appeals.
Right. So would you suggest the 1 and 2 family residential be greater than 250?
Well, what is the dock now?
Now, hold on one moment.
Yeah, because I think either way, the 1 and 2 family homes have to be more than
Yeah,
than the
but I
double.
mean, the dock is not even an appeal. Docks are simply to get a permit from this board. They're not appealing a decision by anybody, which is a lot less complicated.
And a sign,
So,
I can only recall one sign application that we had. I think it was for the storage place on 3A.
Yeah, but
so
I think signs and appeals I don't think that's changing.
yeah, that's not changing. It was 300 and it's unchanging. The single family residential is currently 150.
Jeez, that's strange. I wonder why it's 300 for a dock. I could see if it's a dock appeal, as we had over by Nichols Road, that area, that 500-foot dock with 3-foot setbacks, but I mean, we spent more time on this dock and on the Gulf than ordinary. And that wasn't much.
And I'm assuming what the other boards have, like, so if you go to conservation next with like a single family home, you have another
Right.
application fee there. Is that right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
For all-
Yes.
But docks, I just don't see it as, I never looked at the filing fees. I never thought about the anomaly of docks being more expensive than to file.
Well,
for
they
a
weren't
two-family house.
necessarily. What were docks before? The same as houses?
She's saying it was 300 before.
Yeah, so it sounds like they were double what houses were.
The docks wasn't in this particular line before. It just moved into there.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Where did it move from?
So it doesn't look like there's a line specifically for docks. It has single family residential, commercial, multifamily signs, variances, appeals, and all others, 300. So I don't know if it falls within the all others.
Okay.
This doesn't feel right. It doesn't
Why
feel
don't we
right to
just-
charge.
Why don't we
more
have
for
one
dock.
and two family residential, comma, and docks at 250?
I'd actually recommend reducing the dock fee. I mean, we could, put that aside, I mean, does this go to the town meeting? Is that why Julia's before us?
I don't believe so, no.
I'd recommend we kind of table for further thought docks. I mean, it just isn't right. You're abusing, I mean, all other,
Want to make docks 200?
yeah.
Okay, we just,
150 or 200. I
can
certainly.
we do that, Julia? Just move docks underneath residential and just make it 200.
Okay. Should I have it be a separate line item under residential?
Yeah,
But
do
it doesn't hurt. It's
yes,
just a
a
piece of
separate line
paper
item.
in one line.
Okay.
And also I see variance is stricken. What is the fee for a variance application? The same as the single one or two family residential?
Variance is currently 300.
Okay. But it's crossed out on this schedule. So where does it go to?
I would assume it falls under all others, but I'm not sure.
Variances are too important and
Yeah.
too complicated. The most complicated things we deal with.
Yeah, I can revise that.
Yeah, let's keep variances there.
And do we keep signs there? Where do signs go with docks? I don't know. I mean, it's only $50. The difference. It seems like
Those things are, I mean, yeah, Matt, I think you're saying that they're kind of
the lighter lifts.
routine or de minimis or something. I mean, they rarely. And our sign bylaws is fairly liberal, frankly. I mean, it's.
And what's with the abutters list now? I see that's all crossed out. So is it just use, now that we have like Muni Mapper, it's just simple enough that we give them a list and don't charge them?
So they pay for the abutters list at the clerk's. So I think that the need for it to be on this fee schedule wasn't necessary, potentially. But
That makes sense. Yeah, why charge them twice? I mean, if they're gonna pay for the abutters list. Because
guess
our
it's more-
bylaws need it, why do we charge them extra for a abutters list? I mean, isn't that what you're getting at?
yeah, I think it's more for informational for them, so they know that they're paying that at the clerk's, but not with the zoning board.
Oh, yeah, so we don't really need it because they have it.
Right,
Wouldn't want people to think they were being double charged.
right.
All right, anything else? All right, well then with those two changes, the dock's moving up and the variance is being restored in that line. I'd move that we accept the filing fee schedule. You're muted that way. I see you trying.
Good guy, certainly.
Seconded.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to accept the fee schedule as revised. Woody Chidick,
Aye.
Lee Darst,
Aye.
Charlie Higginson. You're muted, Charlie. Dave McMorris, aye. Matt?
Aye.
All right, we are on to zoning bylaw amendments. Is Tom going to appear?
He's not in the attendees and I did not hear from him.
We had made recommendations, I thought, or at least there was some sort of vague consensus. We didn't take a formal vote, but the ADUs, we were concerned about size of and, a maximum size. And I thought he had agreed to that, or at least so I've heard from the planning board or something. And also the 10 and 10, no more than 10 permits a year. And when it reaches 10% of dwelling units, there's a freeze. I thought a recommendation was delete both those and leave it to our good judgment and facts as opposed to speculation, imagining a problem that doesn't exist. That was one of the areas. And the other area that I recall was my concern that there's a provision in there, I don't know what it is. I don't have it in front of me. I couldn't find it, but I apologize. But the issue of review, I don't know, what's it called? The implementation of a new development impact mitigation bylaw, Planning Board 5. There was some language in there that said anything that needed a special permit would first come to the planning board, but all non-conformities automatically need a special permit, if not a variance. And it would be ridiculous to have every one of these go through a review by the planning board first, and they have no jurisdiction by state law to deny approval. Only this board can do that. So I thought there was an agreement, and I had an email from Carolyn Murray that she agreed that language should be changed, but I have seen nothing.
Yeah, I think all the ones that we were comfortable with and had enough information on, we took a roll call vote, and I think we put something on the agenda in case there was an additional.
But without, Matt, and without the language though, any language changes, I can't support any of these.
Right.
I don't think
party
we can
of
vote
one.
on these not having seen anything.
Right.
And we would, if we were comfortable voting on them as is, we would have done it last time.
Yeah.
Because I saw even one of the planning board meetings, and I don't know if there was follow-up to it, but I think Clark was gonna come back with some examples why maybe he didn't think it was a good idea to reinstitute, the one there that we were looking to get back in that we thought was inadvertently taken out with the narrow.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right. That was the other one. Yeah.
Where he had some, they had kind of charged him because he brought up that he didn't think it was a good idea. And I think they said, well, kind of come back with some examples why it might not work. But I didn't see
It has to do with his house.
I didn't see the follow-up.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be open to consideration, but I can't, for the life of me, agree, just as a party of one, to any of the, to support any of these three amendments without something in front of us.
Yeah, when's town meeting, Julia?
I'm actually looking that up right now. Hold on one second. It's special town meeting Monday, December 9th, 2024.
All right, so we will have a meeting before that.
Yes.
Yeah,
The matter of the warrant, he didn't seem to be too concerned with our endorsement on the warrant. I think maybe I asked him a few times about it, and he wanted us to stand up and kind of endorse it individually, but I don't know. I kind of thought he might see some value in the endorsement on the warrant,
Well, I would say as a party of one, just as an individual board member and a non-voting one at that, if there are no changes or at least discussion or consideration to the kind of changes we would recommend, I would speak at town meeting against these. I mean, verbally as opposed to silently. I don't think he wants that. I mean, I'm not trying to stick a.
I would hope that we're going to have more information before our December meeting so that we can perhaps vote and have a recommendation for town meeting. But at this point, we do not.
Right.
All right, Woody, I have a generic question for you.
Uh-oh.
If we get a site plan that's stamped by a land surveyor, but not a registered professional engineer, is that acceptable?
I've almost always insisted that it be by an architect or a registered engineer, but in this case, a registered engineer. Plans have to be stamped by somebody, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Julia, you may know as a planner, but does a land surveyor have any registered, kind of status in that regard?
I think it does in terms of like the lot area and the dimensions. I was just from previous knowledge from a past role, I would look for both stamps on the site plan. So the professional engineer and the professional land surveyor. But I just didn't know if that was something explicitly determined in Cohasset zoning bylaw, or if that is.
We've always had a registered engineer or someone. Don't we have that in our procedures?
Yeah.
I believe we do, Dave. And that, I don't know if it's page 8 or whatever it is, or section 8 rather, but of our bylaws that deal with the kind of plans that have to be submitted. Oh, no, it's not our form. Our form has it, mentions it. I think. Must be stamped by. I don't know. No.
All right, discusses
Anybody have
plans
that?
submitted.
I'm trying to find the form.
Says their plans are complete per section 2.2 of the rules and procedures of the ZBA.
ZBA procedures. Yeah, so what page are you on?
I'm looking at page 3 of the application.
Okay.
I don't know where we, I don't know if I have the rules, the regulations of the board in front of me.
All plans. I've got page 4 or 5. All plans, each plan stamped by a registered engineer, land surveyor, or architect as appropriate. So,
Okay, so
it is included there. I don't see any reason to change it.
no, I guess, you know, if we have one that's stamped by a surveyor that's more complicated than a surveyor should be doing, we could ask for more, like an engineer stamp, but the one that I'm concerned about is just a pretty simple plot plan. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really run into problems of somebody, you know, some amateur surveyor out there with a chain or something that we kind of questioned. I don't know.
I didn't think so.
In the old days, George Washington out there in the hinterlands of Pennsylvania with his, wherever he was.
All right.
Yeah, so I don't know. My recommendation is, Julia, if you could get back to Tom and he speaking for his committee or notify the committee, we do expect to see, you know, if our recommended changes, any or all, have been adopted, and if not, or if Clark wishes to, you know, or rescind something, if we could get an explanation so that we could consider it.
We would like to vote on the remaining articles that we haven't voted on yet, and we would like the information that we asked for before we vote.
And we intend to, and we could put this nicely, but intend on the 3rd of December to take a vote. And if we are not equipped to vote positively, then the alternative is, as opposed to no opinion, I think it's probably a negative. At least, I don't know. Well, I mean, I can't tell. We'll see how everybody feels on the board, but.
Absolutely. I will reach out to Tom as well as have Cassandra be in the loop.
Yeah.
If they have new materials.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Wait, just before you, is there more to come in terms of bylaw amendments? Is Tom's committee, not the planning board, but the other committee, the zoning bylaw committee, is that kind of got a perpetual life for another year or two to go, or is this it?
Is the zoning bylaw committee still together?
I thought
I think it is.
No, I think it's all being done via the planning board.
I think
Yeah,
that's
I
what
thought
I
that-
also heard.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So there may be other amendments, but kind of as needed, or as opposed to an ongoing. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
All right, this is exciting stuff. All right, never mind.
All right. So entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
All right. All those in favor of adjournment, Woody Chidick,
Aye.
Lee Darst has already voted with her feet. Charlie Higginson,
Raise your hand, Charlie. Oh, well,
Dave McMorris, aye, Matt Watkins.
Aye.
All right.
sounds
We
like
are
it's
adjourned.
unanimous.
See you December 3rd. Thanks,
Okay.
Julia.
Thank you.
Thank
Great,
you all.
thanks. Nice work, Julia.
You all as well.
Okay.
Thanks.